Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the video with the Roshank Redemption, and today I'm bringing you guys a review and analysis for Tokyo Ghoul Raid Chapter 59. But before we get into the actual video, I just want to thank you guys for all of the comments and all of the feedback that I received on my live reaction to this chapter. I actually missed quite a few things in my first read through, and you guys really helped me to notice the things I missed, and you guys also gave me some good feedback on my setup, so I really appreciate it, folks. Also, just to give you guys an idea of how these analysis videos are going to go in general, I'm going to try and keep them around 10 minutes, or maybe even under 10 minutes, to be honest. Just because, for one, I feel like you need at least around 10 minutes to really get into a chapter of Tokyo Ghoul and to really delve into some of the deeper stuff. But at the same time, I personally don't have an attention span above 10 minutes, which is not me trying to hate on any reviewer out there. But nonetheless, in general, these are going to be around 10 minutes. Alright, well, let's go ahead and get straight into this, and the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, Urai's Kinke, because I completely missed this in my live reaction. I'm not sure how I could possibly have missed it, because rereading the chapter, it was incredibly obvious, but nonetheless, Urai's new Kinke, Ginkui I believe it's called, is made from Nora, and this is significant for a couple of reasons here. First of all, Nora was pretty much Eto's Kagane in the end, and that hasn't been explicitly confirmed yet, but it's basically confirmed at this point. So, Urai's basically using a Kinke that's made from part of Eto's Kagane, and Eto's powerful as hell, which means that Urai in turn is going to be super powerful. I would estimate that his level is around a first class, or maybe even an associate special class, and after his conversation with Washu, it looks like he's trying to get promoted even more, so Urai's looking really powerful. Urai's looking incredibly strong, and I would estimate that by the end of Tokyo Ghoul, he could be one of the stronger characters in the series. Also, I noticed something interesting about the Kinke's name. The Kinke is of course called Ginkui, and Shirazu's full name was Ginshi Shirazu. So I'm wondering, I'm not familiar with Japanese, and I feel like to really analyze this, you have to look at the actual Japanese characters for Shirazu's name and for Ginkui's name. But nonetheless, the fact that the first three letters of Shirazu's first name are the same as the first three letters for Ginkui makes me think that maybe Urai named Ginkui after Shirazu in part. In my opinion, it would make a lot of sense if Urai did name the Kinke after Shirazu, since it was revealed after the fight that Urai was actually pretty attached to him, and this would be the perfect way for him to sort of pay respects to his passed on friend. And that's pretty much all I have to say with regards to that, so let's go ahead and move into a different subject, and what I want to talk about now is Mutsuki, because we got no appearances from Mutsuki in this chapter, which is very, very strange. So the way I see it, there are pretty much three options with regards to what happened to Mutsuki. The first option is that he was killed off screen, which I highly doubt. I very much doubt Ishida would do that, because he would have to, kill him off screen, then show how he died in the flashback, which I don't think that happened. I think Mutsuki's still alive, but he's just doing something else. The second option is that he was transferred to another squad, which if you think about it is very possible, because Mutsuki is actually pretty strong now, potentially even on the level of Shirazu, maybe not anymore with Shirazu's Kinke, but nonetheless, Mutsuki is very powerful, so he could have been promoted to a higher rank and maybe taking control of his own squad, or potentially taking a leadership position in a different squad. And then the third option, which is definitely the most interesting one, is that he's doing some sort of undercover mission, maybe even infiltrating Aogiri Tree, since the CCG does want to take down Aogiri Tree and is pretty much focusing all of their efforts on doing that right now. I mean, if I had to say, I'd probably go with the previous option that he just got transferred to a different squad, since a lot of people in the CCG didn't approve of the undercover mission that the Qs did before, but even so, the mission was pretty successful, so either option, either of those last two options are both plausible. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is incredibly subtle, but I think it's going to be important in the future. I think Ishida was foreshadowing something with regards to Matsuri's family in this chapter, so let's go ahead and delve into this. First off, I want to compare Matsuri and Urai a little bit, because when you think about it, they're very similar characters. Both of them want to get promoted, both of them really want to rise up in the ranks of the CCG, and both of them are willing to sacrifice a lot to do so, but the difference between the two is that Urai has some limit. Urai has some limit to how much he wants to get promoted. I mean, he clearly values his friends' lives over getting promoted, as is evident in everything that happened with Shirazu, but I question whether Matsuri actually has a limit. Like, he would pretty much sacrifice anything, it looks like, to get promoted and become the bureau director and eventual chairman of the CCG. The reason I bring this up is that Ishida did something sort of out of the blue in the middle of the chapter when Urai in one of the panels notices a picture of Matsuri's family, which is basically Ishida's way of sort of drawing attention to the fact that Matsuri does have a family. You could argue that this is a minor detail or that it has no meaning, but I don't think Ishida does stuff out of the blue like this, and I don't think he would point out Matsuri's family like that unless he's foreshadowing something or some sort of event. So what I think is that this means that something is going to happen to Matsuri and his family at some point in the future. What exactly do I think is going to happen? Well, either one, his family is going to get killed as sort of karma or sort of recompense, I guess you could say, for all the lives that he sacrificed in the CCG missions that he's run in order to get a higher rank in the CCG. Or Matsuri's gonna have to decide at some point between his own family and rising up and getting promoted in the CCG. And the reason I say something like this is, I already talked about how Ure has limits, but Matsuri does not. I think he's willing to sacrifice even his own family to rise to the top. Now, exactly how Ishida's going to do this, or if he'll even do it in the first place, I have no idea. But nonetheless, the point is that something's gonna go down with Matsuri's family before everything's said and done in Tokyo Ghoul Rei. Moving on here, let's go ahead and discuss Hinami for a little bit, because I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but there is a huge death flag on her in this chapter. And the death flag is, if you remember back to Shirazu's death, right before Shirazu died, he said, "I want to see Sasaki." And Hinami right now is about to be disposed of, and she's saying the exact same thing. "I want to see Kaneki." So there's sort of parallels between the two, which indicates that Hinami could potentially die here. Now, like I said in my live reaction, I don't actually think Ishida is going to kill off Hinami in this manner, because just letting her rot away in prison and sort of be disposed of would be a very anticlimactic death for such an important character. So I don't think Hinami is going to die in this way. Maybe later in the series, but I don't think she'll die right now. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and think about what would happen if she did die, because I have a theory with regards to this and the ending of Tokyo Ghoul Rei. So, the death flag on Hinami pretty much got me thinking. Ishida has hinted that there will be a massive tragedy in Rei, in Tokyo Ghoul Rei, that'll be even greater than the death of Shirazu, or the death of Karen, or probably even the death of Hinami in itself. And to give you guys an example, I think in the first chapter this was, he wrote, and I'm paraphrasing here, "The sky next to tragedy is blue." And in many ways, I suppose that's supposed to be taken positively, but it does imply there will be a massive tragedy in Tokyo Ghoul. And I was thinking, what if, and this is just a theory here, but what if the tragedy in Tokyo Ghoul is that Kaneki becomes so obsessed with whatever goals he has right now and neglects all of his friends? That is, he becomes so cold that each and every one of his friends dies wanting to see him, but they aren't able to see him before they die. So just as Shirazu wanted to see Kaneki before he died, under this theory, Kaneki would neglect Hinami even though she wants to see him before she dies. And then of course this would carry over to other characters and other friends of Kaneki in Tokyo Ghoul Rei. If you think about it, for someone who's been so focused on protecting those close to him for pretty much the entirety of the series, for Kaneki to neglect his loved ones and to realize at the end of Tokyo Ghoul Rei that all of his friends had died wanting to see him, that would be the ultimate tragedy. Like I said, it's just a theory and I'm not really sure how plausible it is, but nonetheless, I would not be surprised at least if a few characters died wanting to see Kaneki, but couldn't. Alright, moving on here, let's go ahead and talk about Kaneki and Frota, because this was definitely the most surprising part of the chapter, that Kaneki and Frota are working together right now. So, after seeing this, there are a lot of theories floating around that Kaneki is actually already joined the clowns off panel, which is very interesting, because I put out a theory a few weeks back saying that I thought Kaneki would end up joining the clowns after the previous arc. Initially, I thought the theory had been shot down because Kaneki ended up staying with the CCG, but now it's actually starting to seem a little bit more likely. To be honest, if you ask me, I don't think Kaneki's already joined the clowns in secret or off-panel or anything, because I just don't think that's Ishida's style, but at the very least, Kaneki is for sure associated with the clowns, and he's working with the clowns. I very much doubt at this point that Kaneki isn't aware of who Frota is and that he is in fact Sota of the clowns, which means that he's willingly associating and working with the clowns. Which means that if he hasn't joined yet, this definitely opens the door for Kaneki to join the clowns in the future, so Kaneki becoming a member of the clowns is not really too far-fetched at this point. Alright, and last thing, let's go ahead and talk about Eto here for a little bit, because in my live reaction, I said that I thought Eto and Kaneki would potentially fight at the end of this arc or sometime soon have a rematch, but looking back at it, I don't think they are. I think Kaneki is going to see her for different reasons, because first of all, it's too soon for them to have a rematch. They literally fought like 3 chapters ago, and I don't think Ishida is going to be redundant and just have them fight again here. Also, I question whether Kaneki actually wants to kill Eto in the first place, because even in the last fight, it sort of seemed like he let her go. Granted, it's difficult to tell what Kaneki's actual motivations and intentions are right now. We won't know until Ishida explicitly reveals it through some sort of mental scene or something like that in Kaneki's mind. But nonetheless, I'm not sure if he even wants to kill her. So in light of that, most people think that Kaneki wants to see Eto for different reasons, and some people are even saying that he wants her help to bring it to Cochlea and to free Hinami, which I think that's sort of jumping to conclusions, but it's still a plausible idea. Another possibility is that Kaneki wants to find Eto in order to find out more about V. And the reason I say this is I've always had the feeling that Eto has some hidden motives for doing what she's doing as leader of Aogiri, and that it has something to do with V. The only way I could really see Kaneki and Eto fighting again is if Kaneki has in fact joined the clowns, and for whatever reason the clowns want to eliminate her or something to that effect. But regardless, the point is, I feel like it's way too soon for their rematch, and I question whether Kaneki has the motivation to fight her at this point. And then before I end things off, just to give a final verdict on this chapter had a ton of setup with regards to Hinami's character, with regards to Urei's character, Kaneki and Eto, Frota, Kaneki's connection to the clouds, and a ton of other things. So this is a great chapter to start off the new arc. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. Excellent chapter of Tokyo Ghoul, as always. Well, alright folks, that is pretty much going to do it for this video. I hope I covered everything in this chapter and everything I missed in my live reaction, but if I did end up missing something, feel free to leave me a comment on that down below. As always, if you enjoyed, be sure to drop me a like down below and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more Tokyo Ghoul raid content in the future. The comment question of the day is, what do you think is Kaneki's association with the clowns? Like I was saying earlier, I don't think he's quite joined yet, but he's definitely working with them and I could see him joining at some point in the future. Otherwise, I hope you all have an awesome day and I will see you in my next video.